Taylor Swift. She's a singer, songwriter, and queen of pop. 但今天我想要分享一个她创造歌曲的原则，或许也是一个很值得学习的沟通原则哦。Hello, 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast. I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. We've talked about her a few times. Last summer with our interns, and now again as she has become a billionaire on paper, Miss Taylor Swift. But in this month where we're covering TED Talks, what can we learn from Taylor Swift when it comes to generating great ideas people want to listen to?
So one day as I was eating lunch, I was browsing on Netflix and I encountered this Reputation tour, right, special on Netflix. And I decided to take a look since her era tours is just kind of exploding everywhere. And it seems like whoever works for her is getting so much money now. I wanted to work for her as well. So I'm watching the special and I found that she is really good at setting up each song and talking about some story and also like the idea behind it. So now in one of her speeches, she mentioned that her idea of music really strips back down to three components only, which is lyrics, feelings, and melody. And this also allows her not to be labeled and pigeonholed into any specific category because, she started off as a country song singer, but she refused to be labeled just as a country song singer. She writes songs with these three components, and now she's basically a queen of everything.
What we wanted to explore is this idea and what it has to do with presentation or giving a speech. Because these components, lyrics, feelings, and melody, really are something you can easily transpose into presentation. Lyrics just being the content of your message, the feelings of what you have to say, the emotions that you create. And the melody is that key point, that thing that you come back to over and over again that get people connected to your message.
我觉得其中一点我们通常在做沟通，不管是 presentation 或者是 hosting a meeting 也好，我们还是会常忘记就是 feeling。千万不要觉得说 feeling 只存在歌曲当中。我觉得之所以为什么 Taylor Swift 这么的成功，是因为她一直很注重这个 feeling 这个原则。那 feeling 呢，在我们的沟通当中也是非常的重要，也是常常大家会忘记的。有非常多 TEDx 或 TED Talk 的演讲者是在最后1秒钟的 conclusion 才会想到 feeling， 但是已经太晚了，因为这个 feeling 是需要去慢慢的去 build up 的。所以我觉得 feelings 刚刚 Nick 所讲的就是 content 还有key point， 这三个其实是要同时间都存在。
And actually, these three questions are very similar to what we've brought up over and over again when it comes to presentation of the three questions you should ask yourself. What do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to remember? These three things are tied back to that. What do you want them to know? That's your content. That's your lyrics. People remember Taylor Swift songs, not because they're overly fancy or overly complicated, but because the storytelling element, the way that she sets up the premise of her song, is something that people can remember and sing along to and connect with. What she wants them to feel has a lot to do with what's the purpose of the song. Is it a love song? Is it a song about heartbreak? Is it a song about confusion for her own career. All of these times she creates a feeling, but she doesn't just talk about herself. She always ties it back to something that everyone could relate to so that they can have a similar feeling. And definitely that melody. What do you want people to remember? I'm sure there are songs that all of us, not just Taylor Swift, but throughout our lifetime, that if you play us a song from our childhood, just like a few bars, most of us can remember the melody almost immediately if it had a deep impression on us.
Yeah, so most of us, we hear the melody and that immediate nostalgia feeling just, occurred. And I feel like these 3 questions and 3 components is so important. I mean, look at the most watched TED Talks, which is Sir Ken Robinson. 我们常用它作为一个例子，但是他的 presentation 就是很简单，他一个人站在台上，他非常在乎这3个原则。那到现在你还是看不厌，因为他的 presentation 就是这么的好。So you can, I think it's really important because sometimes we are distracted by technology, new things that's helping us to build better presentation or prettier presentation. But what's really important is still that core, is still, that 3 components.
It's really interesting to hear Taylor Swift talk about this in terms of her music writing, because she doesn't say these are the core tenets of country music writing. She's just like, any songwriting of any genre, if you have these things, this is what helps you cross over. And there's a lot of interesting examples of not just her, but other artists who have successfully crossed over. And it's because they understood these guidelines as opposed to just using the same formula over and over again. Another really interesting example of this is the singer and producer Timbaland, most famous for doing the background of a lot of Missy Elliott tracks, Justin Timberlake tracks. He's had a lot of hit songs just himself. But he has crossed so many genres. And there's a really interesting interview of him where he talks about when he first started getting requests from just random artists. He was like, what? This is like, I'm a hip hop, I'm a, rap, R&B. This is what I do. But then he's getting requests from like Elton John. And then he did something really interesting. He was like, all right, I'm going to work with Elton John, but I don't want to use Elton John's voice. I'm going to have Elton John play the piano and I'm going to use a gospel choir. And so it became this really interesting collaboration where, okay, it's out of his realm of comfort, but he knew that, okay, I have an amazing pianist and songwriter. I can take the beats that I'm very good at creating, and I can take something that bridges our types of music, which is choral music. And then he creates this whole new thing that kind of marries it all, but it still came back to those pieces of what was his craft and how did he jump over to a completely different genre.
So I actually thought about another artist as you're talking about Timbaland, is the artist Pink. So I think when we were younger, back in our high school days or high school or college days, I mean, she's always been very popular, but, I think at a time I would think she was a really rebellious person.
Yeah, like punk rock, pop.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like she really honed in that feeling that she want her audience, her listener to feel, which is uplifted. So all of her songs, especially in the recent years, it just feel good songs.
Yeah, she has a lot of ballads that are just really emotionally powerful.
Exactly.
Where this is someone who still does like very heavy punk rock, rock guitar. In her concert, she like flies in trapeze, even though she's like 40s now, has kids, and she's still like in a harness flying around So she knows how to go all out. But when she writes a ballad, she knows how to write like an emotional, grab you ballad.
Yeah, so I think her audience has been with her for decades. Everyone went from teenagers, students, young working professionals, and into mothers. So like myself as well. So I feel like she's also someone that had these 3 components down, and she never neglected the feeling aspect of it. So that's something that I absolutely love about her.
So these are just great examples of when an artist knows how to follow guidelines or come back to the core of the music, they're not pigeonholed to a certain genre. And there are examples of people who have been able to cross all of these fields. Taylor Swift being one, I think Timbaland, Pink being others, where they just really know how to bounce back and forth between what they're best known for, but also it doesn't stop them from trying other things. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this just musing on what is Taylor Swift's thoughts on What makes her music able to jump genres, and what does that really have to do with creating core ideas for your speech or presentation? We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.